out of my chair.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to West Nail Virus. We are your hosts, Caleb Nail and Josiah West. Welcome to the show. Today, I have learned that a lot of people do not want to learn from the history. Make sure you pay attention to history class. And the saying goes, those that do not know their history are doomed to repeat it. And we learned late last night, I was awake on the West Coast. On the East Coast, most people were asleep, that Josh McDaniels and GM and the GM of the Raiders, Ziegler, I believe is his name, have been fired. Yes. And good riddance. They should have been never hired if people in Las Vegas and the ownership of the Raiders learned from history.
Yeah. I don't get it personally. Dave Ziegler, I don't know anything about him. I don't know anything about his history in the NFL or history as a GM. But what I do know is he was part of the decision to hire Josh McDaniels. And that is enough history for me because Josh McDaniels has plenty of history in the NFL. And it's not great, guys. Let me tell you what, it's not great. Okay? Like, offensive coordinator, fine. But just because someone's a good coordinator does not mean that they are a good head coach.
We talk about it all the time. You could be a great coordinator, and you should probably stay as a great coordinator. It's not a bad thing if you are a great coordinator and not a good head coach. That is not a bad thing.
No, because you need good coordinators.
Well, here's an example. Out on the farm, most people don't like driving tractor, but when you have a bad tractor driver, that makes a huge difference on how things go on the farm. Sometimes you can't run the business, but you can be the best tractor driver in the world, and you can make a huge difference being the best tractor driver. Same thing goes for the NFL.
And also, you make a little more money as an offensive coordinator than you would as a tractor driver. So, it's just slight, I mean, there's tractor driver, and then I think the next job in the money ranking would be OC of an NFL team, but it's definitely still good enough money and it's a prestigious enough position. Like, don't try and do something that you can't do. Josh McDaniels has had a foray into head coaching before, and I will hearken everyone back to the days of yore in 2009 and 2010 when he took over the Denver Broncos head coaching job. And let me tell you what, first year didn't seem so bad. 8-8, it's not great, but first year, that's not too bad. We'll take it. Second year, he took an 8-8 team from before, and he moved that 8-8 to 3-9.
Ooh.
3-9 and got fired before his second season was over. So far, Josh McDaniels is 2 for 2 for getting hired as a head coach and then losing his job in less than 2 seasons. He is 2 for 2. He is a total of 20-33 as a head coach. And I do not think he should ever get a head coaching job in the NFL again.
I would be shocked if he did that. That dude is real good at stealing money.
I wish I had his hoodwinking skills.
All right. I saw this on the good X World this morning, early in the morning, and I thought it would be appropriate to bring up. This whole thing was schemed by the one and only Tom Brady. Tom Brady, we know, has bought ownership into the Raiders. And we also know of the history between Tom Brady and Derek Carr. Tom Brady's not a fan of Derek Carr, right? Because I think that the Raiders were talking about bringing Tom Brady in, and then they stuck with Derek Carr. And then on a show, Tom Brady said, "You're going to stick with this guy over me," and he was talking about Derek Carr.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, and so Tom Brady instead bought ownership. This is all conspiracy, by the way. For some reason they bring in Josh McDaniels and Jimmy G and Brian Hoyer, all former Patriots, and Tom Brady knew they weren't going to succeed, tanks the team, and now he's going to start his coaching career for the Raiders, and they can only go up from here. And it was all devised by Tom Brady.
Look, that is some wild speculation. That is some wild speculation. But oh my gosh, do I hope that it's true. I would love to see how Tom Brady does as a coach because I have a secret theory that Bill Belichick did not do that much coaching, and it was mostly done by Tom Brady. Because look at what happened with the Patriots. As soon as Tom Brady left, their whole team went to crap, including their defense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense. How is Bill Belichick? Oh, sorry.
Turn it down a little bit.
How is Bill Belichick?
No, I mean,
always has good defenses.
Energy-wise, you're fine. Blowing out my headphones.
Yeah. I'm gonna go fix my. I think I need to maybe turn down my mic volume a little bit. Is this better? Is this better?
That's wonderful.
Okay, cool. Well,
I'll pick it back up.
Well, Bill Belichick was regarded as a great defensive mastermind because he had amazing defenses every year. And Tom Brady was supposed to be, the greatest fraud of all time. And a lot of people still make that case because they're always like, oh, Tom Brady always had one of the best 5 defenses in the NFL. And that's why he was always succeeded. Anybody could succeed when they have one of the best 5 defenses every year. No, they can't, because not everybody that had a top 5 defense won the Super Bowl every single year. I'd like to remind you that just because he had a top 5 defense, there are 4 other quarterbacks that also have a top 5 defense, and he still won it, not them. And secondly, as soon as Tom Brady leaves the Patriots, they stop winning. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's just star power and everybody decided, oh, I'm going to not play for the Patriots, or the people who were there just decided they didn't care anymore. But what it seems like to me is Tom Brady had a lot of pull in making a lot of decisions for the team, and he knew what he was doing. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's been my theory for a long time, and I would be really excited to see him as a head coach to see if it's true.
I don't think it'll happen, but I will say this to your point. I think, or when did the Patriots start having the most trouble? When Josh McDaniels left as the OC and to the Raiders for the head coaching job. They found most of their success with Josh McDaniels as OC. He's a good OC. He should stay as an OC. But let's go back to the Raiders. Okay, we gotta talk about the Raiders.
There's a lot of things to talk about with the Raiders.
The ownership is the problem. The ownership has always been the problem. You talk about the Raiders, they have never been able. There's 2 times they were able to figure it out. Derek Carr's rookie season, when they made the playoffs and Derek Carr broke his ankle and missed the playoffs, that was probably their best shot. That's probably been their best team in a long time. Even before Derek Carr, they were screwing up with draft picks. They couldn't figure it out. Then later on, after they got rid of Gruden, they had Visaccia, the special teams coach, stepped in as interim, and all the players loved him. And they went on a huge winning streak when he was.
Yeah, I still don't understand what happened with that.
Keep him, obviously. If you know anything about football, just anyways, we're going to get to what I was going to say in a second. Derek Carr loved him. Derek Carr's a leader. He kind of let the guys do their thing and figure it out, and they did a great job. He was a player's coach. Then you get rid of him. Terrible move by management. Then the management comes in and says, all right, Derek Carr, who do you want? You know what? I want Davante Adams, the best wide receiver in the NFL, who, by the way, I played college ball with. They signed him. Oh my goodness. This is going to be great. This is going to be an unstoppable offense. You have Josh Jacobs at running back, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow, and Davante Adams. They all work great together. You have a future star in Max Crosby. We're working on the defense. We're working on the O-line. Everything else is figured out. Psych! That's the wrong number. We don't want any of you because we want Josh McDaniels, and the ownership brought him in. The ownership does not learn from their history. Back to my main point. If you want to be successful, stick with your gut. I have a feeling Chucky, the owner there, knew exactly what was best for the team, but decided not to do that because of either friends or maybe input from Tom Brady, who knows? And it didn't go in his way, and now you're back to where you were before Derek Carr, trying to figure things out. And by the way, you can't draft well. Doesn't matter who your GM is. You guys have not drafted well since you drafted Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. So those were your two best draft picks in my lifetime.
Yeah. And weirdly, the third best draft pick was probably Sebastian Janikowski, which was a kicker in like the first round. So that didn't make any sense.
Right. That doesn't count because that was like when I was very little and wasn't aware of what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Raiders are the worst ran organization in football and have been for my entire lifetime since Rich Gannon left, since they made the Super Bowl with Rich Gannon and traded away John Gruden to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and then lost the Super Bowl. They were a good organization, at least a decent ran organization. The Davis family oh gosh, it's bad. But I will say this: they made the right move. They made the right move by getting rid of Josh McDaniels and the GM.
Yes. Now we're waiting to see what's next in the comedy of errors that is the Raiders. Because genuinely, how hard is it to mess up an interim head coach that all the players love and goes on a winning streak? Like, if you are a logical person, you look at that and you go, let's just see how he can do. Let's just keep him here. If he can keep winning, he can keep his job. If he starts losing, we'll find someone else. That seems like the easiest thing ever. And no, instead they said, okay, let's go find a coach with an overwhelming history of no success at all. And let's hire him. And then let's let him pick his favorite quarterback, who also has an overwhelming history of little to no success. And let's let him play. And then let's let our franchise quarterback, who everyone loves and has played for our team for years and years and years and years and years through highs and lows. Let's let our new coach with an overwhelming history of horrible history, let's let him push out our old quarterback for his buddy that isn't playing well.
Not only just Derek Carr, Darren Waller.
And then alienate. Yeah.
And then alienate Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow, who has about 3 receptions. Adams. And that was my next point. The person I feel for the most in this entire situation is Davante Adams. I hurt for him.
Yeah, no, absolutely. My heart hurts to see two college buddies finally get a chance. It's the coolest thing ever, right? Like they're buddies in college. They play so well. They break tons of records. And they get in the NFL and their dream is like, oh, I want to go play with my buddy. I'm the best receiver. He's still a starting quarterback. This has been going on for forever. I'm going to go to his team. We're going to have great success. It's going to be awesome. And then you go there and psych, new coach. He hates your buddy. He fires your buddy. And then his guy doesn't throw you the ball. And when he does throw you the ball, it's way overthrown or it's just nowhere near you. And what are you supposed to do? You're the best receiver in the NFL. Use me.
When one of the top quarterbacks of all time, and Aaron Rodgers, says you should always look at Devontae Adams because most of the time, 99% of the time, he's open. I think Aaron Rodgers said he's always open. So look his way. And you don't even look his way.
He had one reception. One reception for 11 yards, Caleb. He had 11 yards. The best wide receiver in the NFL had 11 yards on Sunday. 11 yards and one reception, which, by the way, for my fantasy team, translated to exactly 2.1 points.
It's awful.
Thank you.
And I don't, we're saying best receiver in the NFL. You can argue that all you want. I believe he's the best route runner. He's the best route runner in the NFL. Best route runner by far.
It's whether or not he's number 1 or number 2 or number 3, it doesn't really matter because it's really, really close either way. And he is in the top 3 no matter what way you look at it. Like Devontae Adams is an amazing receiver.
Uh-huh.
And if your only argument against that is, well, look at how he's done with the Raiders, that doesn't have anything to do with him. That's not his fault. He has one reception.
This is peak Raiders. You ruin the chemistry between two guys that are best friends and have been best friends forever. Broke records at Fresno State. And I don't have my biases here. Look, I got a big Fresno State Bulldog next to me. But you ruin part of a career that was a Hall of Fame career. You were able to do that. Congratulations, Raiders. You're terrible, and you have not only alienated players that loved being there, but you alienated, I would say, 90% of your fan base. They don't like you anymore.
I mean, it's true.
Don't like you.
You've told me this yourself off camera. You were telling me about how all the people in Fresno, they always loved the Raiders, and I know they always loved the Raiders because I've seen Raiders stuff everywhere every time I go out there. Now they don't anymore. Everybody's decided, screw the Raiders. They suck. They're terrible, and they don't make any sense, the decisions they make. And
it's not.
And they can't draft worth a crap. Every new person they bring in gets arrested or somehow ends up off the team. I mean, Khalil Mack, look, I'm not saying the Khalil Mack trade was bad or whatever. What I am saying is every player you have historically that's been good, you've gotten rid of or has been arrested. Damon Arnett was going to be good, right? Well, he was supposed to be good. He was your first round pick. He gets arrested. Henry Ruggs, he was I think first round pick. He gets arrested. Guys, let's do some character, background here. Let's think about some things. There's a reason that the Raiders keep selecting the wrong guys and everyone else didn't select those guys.
Learn from your history. Learn from your history, Raiders.
Yeah, maybe hire some new scouts or something. I don't know what's going on, but or sell the team. Sell the Mark. Hey, look, I'm in the market. I will buy them from you. I could scrounge together like maybe 20,000 probably. Is that the valuation of the Raiders right now? It seems accurate to me. So
I can kick in $100.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
I think I could
Yeah,
crowdfund
yeah.
a few,
Let's just have the
few
fan base
thousand.
purchase it. Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on from the Raiders because they're a piece of trash. But we're gonna go from one piece of trash, California football. Oh no, they're out of California. Thank goodness. We're gonna move to the California team that is actually making some noise. Not in the past 3 weeks, but they're making some noise at the trade deadline and they're getting some help out. They robbed the Redskins and they kind of stole from the Redskins. Former NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young, the 49ers, traded with the former Redskins for Chase Young and gave them a third round draft pick for Chase Young. Chase Young currently has 5 sacks on the season, not and like 15 tackles, 6 TFLs, a decent year. He's on track to beat his rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year sack line. He finished with 7.5 sacks. He's already at 5, but he struggled with injuries. But for a third round pick, and then, by the way, we also need to add in they traded the Commanders, former Redskins, traded Montez Sweat away, who is having a good year, a better year than Chase Young. Traded him away for a second round pick to the Bears. I would rather have Chase Young. I know the production is there from Montez Sweat. I would rather have Chase Young. I like the upside for Chase Young way more. But you got a third round draft pick from Chase Young for Chase Young, or you didn't get a first round draft pick for either of those guys, by the way.
No.
Talk about a team that's tanking.
Montez Sweat has been producing every year since 2019 when he entered the league, and they got a second round pick for him. So he's been in the league for 4 years. And he's done well every year. They got a second round pick, which a second round pick and if it had been a second round and a fifth round, or a second round and a fourth round, I think it would have been more forgivable. But just a second round pick, just straight up, and then just the third round pick straight up for Chase Young. You just sold your whole defense for a second and third round pick. Like, you've made your defense 10 times weaker, and you have 2 shots in the dark at, mediocre draft recruits.
You're not finding a Montez Sweat or a Chase Young with those draft picks. You're not.
No, probably not. I mean, it's possible, but very, very, very unlikely. And the reason is, right, it's contract years. They don't want to pay them.
Right.
But you have to pay your players. You can't win if you don't pay good players. Look, I get not paying running backs. I feel bad for the running backs in the NFL right now, but I understand why it's happening from an owner's perspective. But it's at the same, but you have to pay your defensive players. You have to have a good defense. You have to have a good defensive lineman. You have to have good offensive linemen, and you have to have good defensive backs. And if you have those 3 things, you can win any game.
A lot of games. Yeah.
Most games. Because if you have a really solid defense and then a good enough offensive line, you can make it work.
Yeah. The Commanders, the former Redskins, I don't believe there's a new GM there, by the way. This is a new GM move. And I think he wants to do his own thing, I'm sure. But the Raiders, it's starting to remind me of the Raiders a little bit. This is another reason why you got to have either punishment for teams tanking. This is obvious tanking, and it's bad tanking, by the way. I don't think it's good tanking. As in, they're not doing a good job at tanking. Or this is another, we're going to talk about it every season when a team tanks. Promotion relegation. You got to have it. Punish teams for finishing last or playing poorly. You have to punish it. Don't reward it like the NFL draft. It is kind of fun, but either way, I think it's a dumb move by the Redskins. Josiah and I both agree. Let's talk about 49ers, though. The other side of this trade. Now you have Bosa and Young, who played together at Ohio State, are going to dominate. they are assembling the Avengers on the D line there, and we have Eric Armstead there as well. There's 4 or 5 guys that are absolute studs.
I think Fred Warner's the sack leader right now.
He's a linebacker. But the thing I will bring up about 49ers is this is a great get. By no means is this a bad get, but I don't think it was a need.
No.
You need to fix your secondary. We've been talking about it the past couple of weeks. You got to fix the secondary. But hey, if you can get to the quarterback real quick, your secondary doesn't have to be that great. They don't have to guard for that long.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, I agree. Their secondary is more in need of help, but like, you know, they're shopping around and they see, oh well, we can't really get any good secondary guys right now, but Chase Young for 3 pennies and a stick of gum, yeah, we'll do it. It's we're gonna take that any day of the week. We don't need a 3rd round pick. We would love to have Chase Young. He's a big dude, and he's going to rush that passer. And, yeah, you got Nick Bosa coming off this end. You got Chase Young coming over here. Fred Warner up the middle. And then the 2 D tackles right here. You rushing, that's too many people. But, no, that's just 5 people. Yeah, you rush 5 people. Good luck opposing quarterbacks. You're going to need some magician stuff from those guys. There's not a lot of QBs in the league that can escape that 5-man rush. So I think it's a good acquisition.
All right,
all kinds of internet issues right now.
Yeah, Josiah and I are both out in the boondocks, by the way.
Yes.
Neither of us
on
have
opposite ends of the country.
All right, let's get to college football, Josiah, our favorite sport. We since we missed Monday, we're going to go back and recap a little bit, but I did want to mention that there was football last night. MACtion has started, and all I can say is this: Toledo's going to win the MAC. That's all you need to know. Toledo won. They're going to win. Nothing else is close when it comes to Toledo and what's in the MAC. So, we lost Josiah. Okay, Josiah's back. But we're going to talk about the college football playoff rankings, and then we're going to go over some of the games and some predictions that we went over. So I just want to apologize first because we did upset picks, and one of my upset picks was Houston and over Kansas State. I looked like a retard. Kansas State won 41-0. It was bad. Now, Josiah did go and get everything that's on record, and we're going to go through where we were right and where we were wrong, because we want to admit where we were right and where we were wrong. So, Josiah, go ahead. Why don't you run through those and talk to us about and recap what happened over the weekend?
All right. Well, I actually don't have the Kansas State Houston game on here because I wasn't in the section that I was sampling from. But the first game we picked was FAU versus Charlotte, and we both picked FAU to win, and we did not mention whether or not we said they would cover. So I'm counting that as wrong. But we both picked FAU to win, and so that was correct. We both got that right.
Check.
Then there was Oregon. Yeah, check mark. Then there was Oregon versus Utah. We both picked Oregon, and we both picked Oregon to cover the spread, and we got both of those things correct. Oregon did cover the spread, and they did win. Then we picked Kansas versus Oklahoma. Unfortunately for us, we both picked Oklahoma, and we picked Kansas not to cover the spread. So we got all that wrong. Terrible pick. Terrible pick. Congratulations to Kansas, though. Never been so happy to be wrong, honestly. Like, huge ups to Kansas and huge ups to Jason Bean. I said Jason Bean couldn't do it. I thought Jalen Daniels was the only thing that gave him a chance for this upset, and I was wrong. Huge credit to Jason Bean.
Does
Then we
Jason
picked
Bean
Louisville.
Does Jason Bean get the starting job over Jalen Daniels once he comes back?
Honestly, I don't think so. Jason Bean, he's good, and he looked really good in the game last night. He threw some. He had some amazing throws. He was hitting dots way down the field, but he also threw some. He had some really easy passes where he kind of crumpled under the pressure of an easy pass, and he threw really careless, easy interceptions. And I don't think that's something Jalen Daniels often does. I think Jalen Daniels has shown enough that he's a good quarterback, that barring any further setback and barring, that he, as long as he comes back and plays like he did before, then I think he keeps the starting job.
I will say this, Bean will be very good next year, and Kansas will have no drop-off. Bean is extremely fast. Unbelievably fast.
He is. Track star.
Yes. All right, Josiah, go ahead.
Literal. Yeah, so next up we had Louisville versus Duke. And you picked Duke to win. I picked Louisville to win. And we both picked Duke to cover. We were both wrong that Duke would cover. They did not cover, and Louisville won. So I got that correct, and you got that incorrect. Yep. Then our probably worst pick of the week, Wyoming versus Boise. And I'm not sure what happened in this game, honestly. It was surprising to me in so many ways. But the favorite to win, Boise, did win. And we did not pick Boise to win. So we got everything wrong there. Terrible, horrible, no good, bad day. Then was Air Force.
I watched some of that game.
Yeah.
Boise, they looked really good, and Fresno State's going to have their hands full this weekend.
Yes, that's going to be a really interesting game. Definitely watch it. Fresno State versus Boise is always interesting, and this is, for some reason, looking like a good Boise team all of a sudden.
We have
up
sold
next,
out the stadium. We've sold out the stadium. There's going to be over 40,000 people there in the stadium. It's going to be crazy.
Wow. That's going to be a fun game. That's going to be a fun game. Up next, also, another Mountain West school, Air Force and Colorado State. Air Force versus Colorado State. Air Force, we both picked Air Force to win, and you picked Colorado State to cover the spread. I picked Air Force to cover the spread. And I got that correct, and you got that incorrect. But we both picked Air Force to win that. So we check mark for us. Then Tennessee versus Kentucky. We both picked Tennessee to win and to cover the spread, and we got that all correct.
Nice.
Then Washington State versus Arizona State. We picked the underdog, Arizona State, to win that. Both of us did, and obviously to cover the spread because they're the underdog, so they have to cover the spread to win. And we got that correct. We got that fully correct. Then we picked Arizona versus Oregon State, and we both said that Oregon State was going to win the game, which was incorrect. You said that Oregon State would cover the spread, and I said that Arizona would cover the spread, and I made an additional prediction that it would be specifically a 3-point or less game, and it was exactly 3-point game. Arizona covered the spread, so I got that correct.
Nice.
Then we picked Georgia Tech versus North Carolina, and you picked North Carolina to win. I picked Georgia Tech to win. but we both picked Georgia Tech to cover the spread. So we both got that correct, but I got Georgia Tech winning correct. You got North Carolina incorrect. Then UCLA versus Colorado. We both picked UCLA to win. Big ups. They won. And I got the spread correct. You did not. But you did say you were going to take the under in terms of points scored. So there's 62.5 points to be scored. You said you were taking the under on that. And you got that correct. And you also tacked on an additional prediction. You said that UCLA was going to sack Shedeur Sanders at least 5 times. That is how confident you were in their defense getting to Colorado. They sacked Shedeur Sanders 7 times. So you got that correct. That was a good prediction. It was actually that was a hit out of the park. Then UGA versus Florida. We both picked UGA to win, and that was correct. And I didn't make a prediction on the spread, so I got that wrong. And you said that Florida would cover, which was also wrong.
I am terrible with. Oh, I'm terrible with the spread. I just stick to over under.
You're not probably. You're not doing great with the spread this week, but. In the last game, Fresno State versus UNLV, we both picked Fresno State to win, and you picked Fresno State to cover the spread. I picked UNLV to cover the spread, and I got that correct, and you got that incorrect. But we both picked them to win, so check mark there. But overall, you got 5 games the winner. You got 5 games incorrect, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 correct. So 5. So you're 8-5,
and like
I am
on the
spread. On the spread, yeah, you're 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
9.
like 1 in 10. Yeah, don't tell
4
me.
4 and 9 on that.
Don't follow me.
I'm sorry.
If I don't follow me on the spread stuff. Don't do
it. But I got 3 incorrect, and that means I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm at 10-3 on games, and then I don't know.
And you did very well against the spread. So we're going to be trying to keep up with it, and let us know what you guys did this weekend. We want to know. We'll put it out. Just put on X and let us know. By the way, you can follow West Nile Virus on X. You can follow me, Caleb_Dogs, and Josiah at Josiah_WNV. When it comes to college football, Josiah, I want to run through the playoff really quick. College football playoff was released. Is there anything else that we need to talk about on over? I mean, Clemson sucks. They lost. Maybe Virginia's actually a good team. They took Miami to overtime. Oh, here's something that I also got right. That was kind of fun. The USC Cal game. I said the USC Cal game would end 41-40 USC. Well, that wasn't the right score, but it was a 1-point game. I think it was 50-49, I believe.
50-49. And oh my gosh, it was a heartbreaking loss for Cal. I wanted them to beat USC so bad, dude. And they screwed the pooch so hard. They lost that game, man. They threw. Oh my gosh. They had 2 stupid fumbles, man. I couldn't believe it. USC got the ball back both times. They recovered it, and they scored both times. It was really unfortunate. It was very sad. And on top of that, Cal left like 7 points on the board that they didn't score. They went for 2 twice, didn't make it. Mm-hmm. And then went for 3. They kicked the field goal, didn't make it. If they had done any of those things, actually, I guess they went for 2 3 times. So that's 9 points.
Oh my word. Oh my word. Can't.
If
All
they
right.
converted on any of that,
So let's talk about
they would've
USC
won.
real quick. USC. I'm just going to say this. USC is terrible. They should start searching
Yeah,
for
they're bad.
someone new. Because drastic changes should be made soon, like sooner rather than later. Lincoln Riley
Yeah.
can coach offense. Another great offensive coordinator. Great offensive coordinator. Not a good coach. And the reason I say that is because he can't hire the right defensive coordinator. And if you can't hire the right defensive coordinator, that makes you a bad coach.
Yeah. I mean, look, here's
if he does not fire Alex Grinch, if he does not fire Alex Grinch at the end of this season, he's a bad coach. I think you have to. It's screaming at you.
I agree. And, he definitely, when Kirk Ferentz gets fired, needs to hire Kirk Ferentz. But no, I mean, seriously, Lincoln Riley, he's a great offensive coach. He really, their USC's offense is elite. I do believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It is the literal opposite of elite. Is there? I mean, seriously, if you combined Iowa's team and USC's team, if you just took Iowa's defense and USC's offense, you would have the scariest team in college football.
Mm-hmm.
But then you put USC's defense and Iowa's offense. I do not think there is a team that they would beat. Sam Houston would have a field day. I'm talking 50-0. They wouldn't put a point on the board and they wouldn't stop a drive. USC's defense is terrible. Iowa's offense, I don't even know why I was part of this discussion now, but they're terrible. And I don't know. All I'm saying is somehow the people at Iowa on defense and the people at USC on offense, or Colorado, frick it, same situation over there, they need to get together and be like, okay, we've got some amazing things here. You've got an apple, I've got an orange. Let's figure out how to make juice out of the two of them. It's not working on its own. I don't know what that. Look, I can't, dude. The defense at USC is terrible. Something has to happen. They need to hire a new defensive coordinator. Lincoln Riley needs to never even be there in defensive meetings. He should not have anything to do with it.
Oh,
don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. No.
Grinch either.
No. I wouldn't touch Grinch with a 10-foot pole.
Right. So I'm going to turn the conversation to Washington because Washington has struggled. Washington has struggled after this Oregon game. Let's see. They've won every game, but they haven't done it in convincing fashion. Let's put it that way. So you would look at who's the better team between Washington and Oregon. Best team in the Pac-12 right now seems to be Oregon, even though Washington won that game. But Arizona State definitely is a better team. And when Washington played them, they were a better team. Stanford is fairly, I don't know what to think about Stanford. They play really good in one moment and terrible in the next. And they struggle with Stanford. So then we look at Washington's schedule because we need to know, is Washington for real? Right? They were for real against Oregon, but they're not looking for real now. And people argue, well, we're going to find out against USC. No, we're not. No, we're not. Washington's offense, Michael Penix Jr. is going to solidify himself as the Heisman winner against this USC defense. It's so bad. And Rodunze is going to go crazy. But Washington does play they play USC, Utah, Washington State. Washington State seems to be a little bit of a pretender now after losing to Arizona State. Who knows, though? The Pac-12 is wide open. They're cannibalizing themselves. But Josiah, I want to ask you about Washington. Do you think Washington can keep this up? I mean, they're like 3 or 4 weeks in a row closer than they like football. Do you think they can keep it up through the rest of this season?
So this upcoming week, according to ESPN, USC has a 54% chance to beat Washington, which I think is insane,
Is that
by the way.
the ESPN thing? That's on ESPN?
Yeah, that's the ESPN thing.
54%.
That's just crazy. Crazy. Look at what Washington did with Cal. They beat them 59-32. They put up more points against Cal and allowed less points against Cal than USC did. Whereas USC should have lost to Cal, and Cal screwed it up. Like, USC is not the better. I know. I absolutely think Washington can keep this up. They have a hard 4 weeks coming up. USC, Utah, Oregon State, Washington State. Those are all games, if you play poorly, you will lose, because they're good enough teams to make you regret any mistake you make. But USC's defense is so bad, a toddler could score on them. Utah's offense is terrible, so Washington's defense just has to step up.
Hey,
Oregon State is good. I actually think
I'm-
they're better than USC or Utah.
I'll fight you on that Utah take. I think Utah's offense is, I don't think they're bad. I think they're actually good, but they're just not as good as the rest of the Pac-12 offenses.
Well, okay, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that is why it looks like that to me. But my biggest problem is their quarterback has 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the season, which isn't great stats. They definitely do a lot better rushing, but not enough better that they don't score enough points for me. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
I don't love Utah's offense. I think Washington has a better team overall. I think their defense outweighs Utah's offense, and Oregon State will be the hardest game for them. In my opinion, I think Oregon State is the most balanced team they play, because USC, all they have to do is stop USC's offense a couple of times and they should win, because USC's defense is terrible. So Oregon State, I think, is the game for them to circle. Washington State, it could be interesting, but I think that should just be kind of a slugfest that Washington will pull ahead in. And I think Washington's the real deal. I think Washington wins out in the regular season, plays Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, and if Washington wins, they're in the playoff for sure. And if Oregon wins, that's when we have the possibility of 2 Pac-12 teams in the playoff, which would be really interesting. It's, not a definite for sure, because Washington could beat Oregon again. But that's my prediction. Is those 2 teams are they both win out and they go to the Pac-12 championship. Depending on who wins, it really affects the playoff.
I agree. And let's talk about the playoff rankings that were released last night during Halloween. Washington and Oregon were 5 and 6. Neither of them were top 4. So, so neither of them are making the playoff right now if the other teams win out. But looking at this,
well, one of those teams can't win out.
That's true. Looking at this, Ohio State 1, Georgia 2, Michigan 3, Florida State 4. Just on the top 4, Josiah, thoughts?
Okay, thoughts. Sure. Sure. Whatever. I don't care. Georgia, that's fine. I'm good with that as a Georgia fan. Actually, I like that. I don't want to just be stuck at number 1, give them something to work for, But Ohio State, they're a good team. They're playing well. Ohio State, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, Washington, all undefeated. They are ranking this. They are ranking those top 5 based on what they think the quality of wins has been. That's all they can be doing right now. So that's opinion, that's conjecture, and it doesn't matter, because when you play head to head, who you've played in the past doesn't matter. So it doesn't bother me. The top 4, top 5 actually does not bother me. What confuses me is
wait.
you get down to 7, 8.
Wait. I
I
do want to
got
throw in here. I want to throw in here real quick that the top 4 does confuse me, right? Because they clearly stated that we like what Ohio State has done. Strength of schedule is better than Georgia and Michigan for sure, and probably Florida State. So we're going to put Ohio State number 1. If that is the case, who out of the top 5 has the best win?
Washington.
Yeah, it's Washington over Oregon. So what, in my opinion, and so
you're
Washington,
right. Actually, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, Washington
should be higher.
That's what I would think.
Should be higher.
Because everyone said Ohio State is number 1 because they have the best win, right, over Penn State. Oh, that's great. I understand that. But if that's the game we're going to play, Washington has a huge win over Oregon, and Oregon's looking really good. I think, and I know you're a Georgia fan, but that Washington win over Oregon is bigger than any win that Georgia or Michigan has, and arguably Florida State. So,
yeah,
because
okay. So here's the thing: Washington has beat Oregon. I guess, and this is what my guess is. Oregon is the only ranked opponent that they have played. The only team that's ranked in the college football playoff right now. Michigan. What I don't get is Michigan at 3. Michigan has not played a single team that is ranked in the college football playoff top 25. They have not played one team that is ranked. Georgia has played one team so far, Kentucky, number 20.
Overrated.
No, Kentucky's not number 20. Kentucky was number 20 when they played them. So
overrated team.
Georgia has not played any teams that is in the top 25 either. So Michigan nor Georgia has played any teams in the top 25. And Ohio State has played Penn State and Notre Dame, who are both in the top 25. So Ohio State number 1 makes sense. Washington should be number 2. Based on quality of wins, Washington should be number 2. They're the only other team who has played anyone in the top 25 thus far.
No. Florida State played LSU week 1.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay. There you go.
But
they played LSU week 1. They should still be above Florida State because it is they beat a higher ranked team.
Well, and talking about bad defenses, LSU has bad defense.
They do.
So if you're going to play the game on ranking and come out and say this is why Ohio State's number 1, you have to do it across the board. And so that's my beef with the top 4 is that they weren't consistent with Washington. Now, Josiah, let's move to your beef with 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 6 Oregon, 7 Texas, 8 Bama, 9 Oklahoma, 10 Ole Miss. Go for it.
Perfectly happy with Oregon at 6. I have no problems with that. Oregon at 6 makes sense, and you're not gonna see me complaining about it. Where I will complain is 7, 8, 9. Because while Oklahoma, yes, did just lose to Kansas, how are they below another team that has also 1 loss, same amount of losses, but they lost to Oklahoma? They beat Texas. And then Texas has to be above Alabama because Texas beat Alabama. So Oklahoma should be 7, Texas should be 8, and Alabama should be 9. No other way does it make sense. And then Ole Miss should be 10.
Yeah, that's give me stuff. Like, obviously, that's what it should be.
I don't even understand why that's why that's a thing.
Honestly, Josiah, you want to know, you're not going to like this SEC bias. That's why.
Well, because maybe, but no, because Texas is still above Alabama.
Right. That's how much they like the Alabama win. Texas beat Alabama. Boom. We think Alabama's playing well right now. That's a quality win. You're going at 7. We do not respect the quality win of Oklahoma over Texas. But I know it doesn't make sense, but that's why.
It boggles the mind they have created a space-time continuum in their logic, or they have broken the space-time continuum in their logic, because it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Also, I have a question for you. Should USC be in the top 25?
No, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Okay.
11 through 15. Penn
Sorry,
State.
yeah, I'm jumping
11.
ahead of myself real bad.
You're good. 11 Penn State, 12 Missouri, 13 Louisville, 14 LSU. That is the top 2-loss team. 15 Notre Dame. Real quick, 11 through 13 are 1-loss teams. Penn State, Missouri, Louisville. I really like what Missouri's doing right now. I know they don't have these huge quality wins. Penn State looks like a decent team. They didn't look that great against Ohio State, but Louisville with a big win over Notre Dame, and they smash Duke. I mean, does Louisville deserve to be a little higher?
Well, I mean, probably. Yeah. I mean, they probably do. I mean, Penn State hasn't beaten anyone. Penn State has not beaten anyone that's in the top 25. Once again, we're basing this off of their logic. Is what they said is Ohio State's number one because of quality of wins, which has to do with teams that they have beat that the college football playoff also thinks is good. And the only way that we have of measuring what teams the college football playoff think is good is what teams they put in their top 25. So what I'm going to go through here right now, Penn State, no teams have they beat that are in the college football playoff top 25. Ole Miss has beat Tulane. Ole Miss is number 10. Ole Miss has beat Tulane and LSU, who are both in the top 25. I'm fine with Ole Miss at 10 based on that logic. Louisville has beat Notre Dame, who is in the top 25. Louisville should be 13. Missouri has beat Kansas State, who is lower than Notre Dame, so they should be number 13.
Based off of their logic.
Based off of their logic. Yes.
Right.
Not my logic, their logic. That's how the ranking should be. I'm just pointing out their wild inconsistencies in everything they say. It doesn't make any sense. Will it get worked out by the end of the season? Hopefully.
Yes.
Hopefully it will. But it's still so confusing. But also remember people, next year it's not just 4 teams.
Yeah, huge.
Be excited for that.
Yeah, I don't think I have any beef right now with the ranking of the 1-loss teams. Oregon is definitely the best 1-loss team right now. Then we have our beef through 7 through 9, and then once you get to 10 through 13, which is Ole Miss, Penn State, Missouri, Louisville, I don't really have any beef with it. But based on their logic, there should be a little mix up. They should change some things, but there's no problem. And then now we're getting into the 2-loss teams. And by the way, there is a 1-loss team and an undefeated team in the top 25. We'll get there though. The top 2-loss teams. So LSU, Notre Dame, should those be flipped, or is there another 2-loss team, Josiah, that you think should be higher?
I'll be honest. 2-loss teams that stick out to me that maybe should be higher include Kansas.
Okay. They're not ranked. Oh no, they are. Sorry, 21.
They're ranked. Yeah, they're ranked 21. UCLA, who's 19.
Mm-hmm.
And Oregon State, I believe.
Yeah,
Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame, I think could stand to be bumped down. They did beat USC, who is number 20. That's the thing, is we've got to the point in the ranking where it doesn't really matter down here. The only teams these rankings matter for are Tulane and Air Force, because once again, none of these 2-loss teams realistically are getting into the college. Realistically. Now,
right.
We'll have something we're going to talk about in a little bit where, yeah, it's possible. But realistically, none of the 2-loss teams are getting into the college football playoff. The only 2 teams down here that could theoretically get into the college football playoff are Tulane and Air Force, and they're not going to let them in,
No.
which is frustrating. But beside the point, that's what it is. Tulane's definitely not getting in because they're a 1-loss team and they lost to Ole Miss.
Right.
Air Force has a snowball shot in summer to make it. You just got to hope that it's a freaking
mess at the top.
Yeah, you got to hope it's a mess at the top and it's a summer in Russia. Like it's gonna be hard. The only way that can happen is if Ohio State and Michigan lose one, or Florida State loses one.
Even then, it's not going to happen.
And even then, it's not going to happen realistically, but hopefully, maybe. But,
we want
still
chaos.
Air Force would probably lose, but it would be fun to watch.
Let me move down. 16 Oregon State, 17 Tennessee, 18 Utah, 19 UCLA, 20 USC. Here we go, Josiah. USC should not be ranked. First and foremost, USC should not be ranked. This is them saying, we need Caleb Williams in the rankings so that we are relevant. We need Caleb, and it's the same for LSU. It's not the same for LSU. I should say LSU should be ranked, but that is based off of how Jalen Daniels has been playing. USC is ranked based off of how Caleb Williams has been playing. As a team, I do not believe USC is a top 25 team in the country right now. I don't see it. So
they almost lost to Cal. They almost lost to Arizona. They almost lost to Colorado.
They did win those games, but they're one-score games. They're not a top 25 team in the country. That is a Caleb Williams ranking. Now, when it comes to my other thing is Tennessee. Is Tennessee that good, Josiah, to be at 17? I don't know too much about Tennessee. The Tennessee fans obviously want them to be there. They think they're good. I see a lot of stuff about Tennessee, but I don't think Milton is going to carry this team to top 20 finish. To me right now, Tennessee is not a top 25 team. Maybe 20 to 25, but I don't see them 17. Over
the interesting game that they have left. Tennessee has not beaten any ranked opponents. And that's the problem is we're down to the point where a lot of these teams just haven't played any ranked opponents, or they've played one and lost, which is what's happened with Tennessee. They lost to Alabama and they lost to unranked Florida. The interesting game that Tennessee has left is Missouri and obviously Georgia. If Tennessee can beat Georgia, then yeah, it looks really good and it shakes up some conversations. Right. Yeah, they got it right. Missouri also, I think, is very interesting because that's a 7-1 team. And if they can beat Missouri, then they beat a rightfully higher ranked team. So they have 2 games left in their schedule that I think could prove the merit of this ranking, but it could also prove the demerit of this ranking. And once again, yes, I understand. Caleb understands. We both understand. This is the initial college football playoff ranking. This is not the end. This is not the. What we are saying is they have announced logic and then dropped it immediately.
There is what they say is the criteria to be ranked is not the criteria to be ranked. There is none.
Yes. There is no criteria.
We watch the football games.
We think these are the best 25 teams in this order.
Just stick to that, please. We watched these football games and we sat down. Look, we sat down and ranked them all as a group. And look, I understand. You can't watch all the college football games. I get it. But if you are making these rankings, you better watch every gosh dang highlight video out there, because that's how much this means to people. Like, I already, because I love college football, watch most highlights of the games, especially in the top 25. And I will say this, group of 5 fans out there listening, you are the fans because you keep up with what's going on in your group of 5 conference, plus what's going on in the top 25 and what's going on in your surrounding area. So like my area, Pac-12, West Coast. And you're keeping up with your team and your conference. They talk to the G5 fans. They know what's going on. Honestly. All right, let's keep going. 21 Kansas. They're there because of the big win over Oklahoma. 22 Oklahoma State. No one's been talking about Oklahoma State this year, but they're there. 23 Kansas State. 24 Tulane, 7-1 Tulane. 25 8-0 Air Force. Josiah, you could start with Kansas, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Big 12 teams. The Big 12 has pretty much eliminated themselves from playoff competition with the Oklahoma loss to Kansas. But the Big 12, they have quite a few teams in here now. Is this a conference that we should look out for, or are they kind of overrated? What would you say?
I would say that, honestly, I'd say they're properly rated. To me, the Big 12. They are good teams. They are ranked teams. They're just not top 5 teams. I mean, some of them, but Kansas and Kansas State and Oklahoma State, all these teams, it makes sense that they are where they are. I think that 22, 23, 21, those make sense for those teams because they've lost games, but they've won good games too at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they're good teams. They're solid teams. They're not top 5 teams.
Kansas over USC?
Kansas over USC, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
easy.
Kansas over USC. Easy
Yeah.
for me. Yes. Oklahoma State over USC. Tulane over Air Force over USC.
Everyone, all those teams over USC. Yes.
Everybody over USC. We don't like USC. Has that been made clear yet?
They're not a complete team. Anyways, G5
Defense
fans
wins championships.
G5 fans, I'm talking to you now. 7-1 Tulane, 1 loss to Ole Miss, over an 8-0 Air Force. This right here, this ranking right here, also with the Washington, Oregon at 5 and 6, tells me everything I need to know about college football viewers. You don't watch football past the Mississippi, on the west of the Mississippi. You don't. You're not watching football. Oregon and Washington are playing some of the best football in the country right now. Just by watching them, they are definitely better than Florida State, for sure. You're not watching Air Force play. Air Force is by far better than Tulane. I'm glad you have 2 G5 teams here, but these rankings are like pity rankings. Like, we got to put G5 teams in. Here you go. Just throw them in at the end there. And then Air Force being 25 behind Tulane makes me believe you're not watching West Coast football or Western time or even mountain time zone football.
See, and this is the thing, is the only reason, right, that a 7-1 Tulane is above an 8-0 Air Force is because Tulane played a ranked opponent and Air Force didn't. But Tulane lost to that ranked opponent, number 10 Ole Miss. So the perplexing part is playing a ranked opponent better than beating every unranked opponent you play? Because I mean, I don't think so. I could go start a college and start a team and we could play a ranked opponent, but that doesn't mean that we should be ranked just because we played them and got smashed 5,700 to nothing. It doesn't matter who they play. It's who they beat, right? I mean, quality of wins is what we're looking for, not quality of games. You could schedule literally all the best teams you could possibly schedule, and if you lose them all, it doesn't matter. So Air Force being 25, it doesn't make any sense. Tulane rightfully should, be 25. I don't think Tulane should be 25, but between the two of them, I can't see my screen because my cat is here. between the two of them, Tulane should be 25. And I also think that they should move up, but that's beside the point. Actually, this is something that is a question year to year for everybody. But what do you think about this, Caleb? How do you feel about ranking, one loss teams and two loss teams above, one loss teams or no loss teams because of strength of schedule? Like how do you feel about that? Or do you think that's okay? Or do you think that an 8-0 team's an 8-0 team and should be, they Air Force should be number 6?
Yeah, I think that's really, really hard because if you watch a lot of football, you can tell. We're going through this in Fresno right now. You can tell who is a good one-loss team or a good undefeated team and who is a good 7-2 team. So I don't have any problems with them putting like a 6-2 UCLA or 6-2 Utah over an 8-0 Air Force because I think those teams would beat Air Force, or like a 7-1 Alabama. They would beat them. So I don't have any problem with it. But what I do have a hard time with, I don't have a problem with, I have a hard time with telling those teams that are undefeated, look, you're not going to be ranked because you didn't beat anybody and you just haven't looked great doing it. Because their response is, well, we can't control the other teams that we play against. We did our job in beating them. Right. But now,
right.
But I can say you're right, but I need you to blow them out. Right. You're not beating Colorado State handedly enough. Like, you need to blow out Colorado State. If you want to get higher, you got to blow them out. That's what I would say. And so I totally get why college football playoff wouldn't put an 8-0 team higher, but here we go again. Oregon at 7-1 is better than those top 14. Better than some of those top 4 teams. So, and
yeah, and that's the thing is blowing out. I obviously I do think that does make a difference. How much you're winning by against bad teams. But I do agree. I think that it is obvious to someone who watches college football a lot, okay, yeah, 7-1 Alabama would probably beat 8-0 for Air Force. And yeah, UCLA, Utah probably would beat Air Force. So yes, to accomplish the goal that the college football playoff ranking is setting out to accomplish, it does make sense. I do agree. It's something that's debated every year, but that is definitely my position on it.
But here's this thing. This is why I'm most frustrated with Tulane being over Air Force, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Next year, they're going to take the top-ranked Group of 5 conference champion to the 12-team playoff, automatic bid in. If this were to stand and both teams win out and win their conference, you're going to take a one-loss Tulane over an undefeated Mountain West champion. That can't happen. That cannot happen.
No.
I think you have to reward an undefeated Group of 5 champion.
In a 12-team playoff, an undefeated team has to go to the playoff.
Yeah.
Does not matter the team, does not matter the schedule. They have to go to the playoff.
All right. So we had technical difficulties. My entire computer crashed, and so we had to cut at the very end of that. Sorry. We're just going to move on from college football, and we're going to jump to the rest of the sports. By the way, World Series 3-1 to the Texas Rangers. So now, Josiah, we need to watch baseball. I'm sorry, baseball fans. It's a lot harder for me to sit down and watch an entire baseball game on TV rather than a football game. It's very difficult for me. I will say this,
especially when you don't have a dog in the fight.
Yes. Going to a baseball game, though, is probably one of the best sporting times you can have. But
that is true.
I watch baseball on and off, and it's hard to get into. I'm sorry. But I will be paying attention now. Now that the team has 3 wins, I will be watching. So, let's talk about the blockbuster trade, though, when it comes to trade deadline, and that was in the NBA. James Harden has been traded to the Clippers, from the Sixers to the Clippers. We knew James Harden did not want to be there, and the Sixers did not want him. And I've talked on this show before about James Harden, and I'm just not a James Harden fan. As a basketball player, I am not a James Harden fan. I would not want to play with him. I don't want him in my locker room. I don't want it. But here's the trade. The 76ers sent James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev to the Clippers for Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nick Batum, KJ Martin, and then if you understand draft picks, good for you. You can go look it up. All the draft picks that were swapped around, the protected, unprotected, all these different things up until the year 2029, all these things going on is just way too much to keep up with. So I want to tell you the players. The Oklahoma City got involved with picks. So there's that trade and the logistics of it. But I just want to say at the beginning of the episode, Josiah, we talked about learning from your history. No one in sports learns from their history. Nobody. Clippers are absolutely loaded with James Harden now, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Kawhi Leonard. James Harden is going to screw it all up. That may be a take that we play later on in the season after they've won the NBA Finals, but I don't see that. I don't see it working out.
Look, it's. I agree. James Harden is not necessarily an addition to this team. I don't know really why they added him. If they can't win with Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and whoever else they've got, then I don't know how a guy who can also shoot threes but just can't play defense, like, I don't know what he's gonna do for him, you know? And it's not a huge trade for me. To me, the 76ers won this trade big time. They got 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and some weird other pick stuff. So it's
trust the process.
Yeah,
Continuing to
exactly.
It's not a good trade for the Clippers. I think it's going to be fun and it's going to sell a lot of tickets. But in 2 months, we're going to be talking about probably 2 of them being injured because Kawhi and Paul George have not been able to stay healthy. I'm not saying it's going to be those 2. I hope not, because I want to watch those 2 play, Kawhi and Paul George. But I don't think this team stays healthy. People are going to get frustrated because James Harden hogs the ball, unless somehow you can get it into James Harden's head. Look, you need to pass the ball. You cannot take over games. This is a team. Here's your role. This is what you're going to do. You're going to catch the ball and shoot it. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they do their thing. Russell Westbrook, you pass and rebound. That's what you're going to have to do in that locker room. And I don't think it's going to be possible because those are stars. They're not superstars yet. I think when Kawhi and Paul George are playing at their best, they are superstars because they play defense. Nobody can guard them. They can be superstars when they're at the top of their game. Russell Westbrook, I mean, I guess he was a superstar. He doesn't play at that level anymore, but he can't play his game like he did when he was at OKC and average a triple-double when you have 3 other stars around you. And James Harden just doesn't only dribbles and shoots. That's all he does. He does it at a high level, but you can't do that with 3 other stars on your team. It's not going to work. I honestly, I don't think it's going to work. So I'll just end it right there. We'll keep moving on. NBA should be fun though, and then they will sell a lot of jerseys. By the way, just came out that Raiders also fired their OC. All right. Yeovil Town update. Yeah, not a surprise. Yeovil Town update. They won Saturday 2-0 over Braintree Town. Goals from Matt Worthington and Jake Hyde. Matt Worthington, he's been in great form. That puts Yeovil Town at 10 wins in a row. Yeovil Town's looking great. It would take just the biggest dumpster fire in the entire world to lose all this momentum, and even just one loss shouldn't lose this momentum. But they're 10 wins. I'm very confident that they will get promoted this year. And we're going to be keeping up with them the rest of their season until they are promoted to the National League. Very excited for Yeovil.
An additional bit of Yeovil news: they have another game tonight for the Somerset Premier Cup against Clevedon Town. So that is tonight, and it's for the Somerset Premier Cup.
Okay, very cool.
So there you
go Yeovil.
Go Yeovil. If you have a way to watch the game, tune in. I don't. I would love to. Go Yeovil. Go Glovers.
We got YouTube highlights. That's what we have over here. Well, everybody, thanks for putting up with our technical difficulties all episode. This has been West Nile Virus. I'm Caleb. That is Josiah. So make sure you spread the virus. Tell somebody about it. We just are here to talk sports with you guys. There's so much going on in this world. We want to laugh and smile with you guys. And hit the like and subscribe button down below. It does a lot for the show. And question of the day. Josiah, can you come up with a quick question of the day for them to comment down below their answer to the question of the day?
Yes. What annoys you the most about the top 20 for the initial top 25 of the college football playoff?
Perfect. And I'll add, what do you like the most? What do you agree with the most?
What do you agree
Annoyance
with?
and agreement. Annoyance and agreement. Top 25 college football playoff.
Got to balance the good and the bad.
Yes. God bless you guys. We'll talk to you later.